Good morning, Sint Maarten. March 6th, 2023, episode 68. Let's hold on a minute. Let's see if we are properly connected. Once I see the first, yes, we are. We have a viewer already. So the weather looking nice today. We started off last night with a little rain. This morning, a little bit of rain again. But at least, hey, we doing okay. Can't complain. So, what we got in the pot? I was gone for a week. I want to thank everybody that sent me various WhatsApps, emails, messengers, just asking what happened. And I noticed some people didn't hear the end of the show where I said I would be out for a week. But I had a week of downtime with the wife, enjoyed some quality time, and now it's back to doing what I do best, and that is keeping the public of Sint Maarten properly informed by facts, not fiction. Let me start off this morning with congratulating the Sint Maarten debating team that captured the Windward Islands debating competition in Antigua by defeating St. Kitts. So a very special congratulations. Naturally, I believe their coach mentor was the former teacher Roberto Arundel. I think he's still teaching sometimes. But and also, I believe it was MP Hyacinth Richardson whose foundation made this possible. And no matter that he's a politician, if he has done something that merits applauding, then you do that. You applaud the good that people do. Don't only pick on the negative that they do. So, MP Richardson, thank you very much for giving the children the opportunity to defend their country abroad, and defending well, I will say, because they came back home with the #1 spot. So thank you very, very much. Now, when you have good, you also have bad. And we have been having a spate of robberies going on lately in Sint Maarten. Smash and grabs, walking into Chinese, grocery stores, and people are robbing for crazy, especially youngsters. And the question is how are you going to deal with this thing? Because remember, we had school fights. Sometimes they was getting out of hand. Now the robberies are getting out of hand, and we are moving into the carnival period. And that's when I get a little worried, and I'll explain you why when we discuss the issues of the police later on. But we got to find a way to deal with this issue of robberies, because it's destroying our economy. People are standing up on Front Street and they see a robbery go down. Broad daylight. People ain't hiding no more. They ain't doing this at night. They just going in there, broad daylight, flashing guns, smashing, grabbing, going where they gotta go. And thank God in the last one, that there were off-duty officers that jumped into action and were able to hand-scrabble a couple of these guys. But it shows you the problems we are having, and we shouldn't take it lightly. But the punishment for these youngsters is a problem, because our jails are full. And you can say, okay, we're going to take people out of jail and put in these that rob. If you have 40 robberies in the next 6 weeks or 6 months, that means you gotta legal 40 people from up there. People that can be hardcore criminals that need to sit some significant time here. So, or we're gonna start paying to put them in Curacao or in Bonaire or in the Netherlands, and before you know, you depleted your whole budget. So there gotta be an alternative punishment found, a way of dealing with these youngsters. I don't have the answer today for you, but it is something that I will be looking into, because I know I can tie it in with the boot camp. People say, it sounds sometimes too military-ish. Sometimes you need structure and order, and the military gives that extremely well. Be it through our VKS in Sint Maarten, be it through a combination of the VKS and the military detachment of the Dutch Navy, but we gotta find something instead of saying we can't do this and we can't do that and it is this. Listen, the robberies are continuing, and at this point in time, You were not robbed. They didn't come into your house, put a gun to your wife's head or to your head or your child's head and took your stuff. Because that had happened, you would be the first one out there screaming about it. So again, let us find solutions. Because locking up these youngsters is not the answer. There's a reason they are behaving so. And we need to find that to be able to cure what's happening right now. The aggression among these youngsters is... Look, I was young too. I used to love a little grundy fight. You know, you use your hands. Today it's guns and knives and brass knuckles. It's crazy. And they strive on filming it, and like the more viral it goes, the better the fight was. And I'm saying this is crazy. But even the robberies, while people are filming robberies, they should be calling the police, telling the police what's happening, who's looking on, and naturally you should be answering 911 one time, and not that it gives you a run around. But again, we need to look at this a little better. And we need to punish them in such a way that they must work to pay for their stay up there. And if you don't want to do that, then you won't eat. And this thing about, oh, human rights this and oh, human rights that, yes, there are human rights. I wholeheartedly support that. But you know what? It can be so that you're on holidays on our expense. Because people go up there, they don't want to do nothing, and they demanding 3 meals a day, otherwise they go do this. Hey, you got nothing to demand, brother. You lost your freedom because of breaking the law. And yes, you should be treated as a human being, but it isn't a free ride. And I think that aspect has to be reviewed carefully now. And we have to put it in such a way. There are a lot of things we can do. If we get metal presses, we can make our own number plates. And mind you, a lot of the guys and girls that are sitting up there now, twiddling their thumbs, are very good tradesmen, or trade girls, whatever you want to call them. I have seen stuff being made up there in the carpentry shop that you would buy in a store outside. So it can be done. And they can make a little money. They have canteen money. And listen, you made a mistake in life. It doesn't mean that your life is over. So we have to figure out a way to deal with this, and deal with it much better than we're dealing with it right now. And this is no pun intended to no minister or to the prison or anybody. This is just a serious situation we have that we have to look at from a better perspective or a different angle than we are doing right now. That's all it's about. All right. So it's coming to an end, the demarcation process of Oyster Pond, Lagoon, and the shoreline. What is Dutch? What is French? All indications are, as I have read in the Dutch press, because they hope to have it ready by the summer, hopefully, or into the fall, is that the French side will have the lands on the French side and some of the waters of the lagoon, and the Dutch side will remain with the rest. And it's going to be interesting then how those that had land on the French side, water rights for example, and they built a marina or a restaurant, how that's going to work out now. Because do they remain with those rights in a different country? Well, France is a different country. Now they have gotten some more property, and that property is theirs. And whomever they want to give it to or do with, unless part of the agreement in the demarcation is that those that owned it on the Dutch side will be the ones that own it on the French side. If that happens, then I can understand. But people that have, for example, I think Captain Oliver's, that place is 40, 45 years old. And ownership can change overnight when the demarcation is over. That's basically what it is. So I'm interested to see how that will work. Now, I saw a little poem, a little thought, let me put it so, written by Fabian Barjo back in February. It's called The Death Trap. Didn't we abandon the Netherlands Tiddy's ship because it was sinking in depth? Wasn't it the idea that Sint Maarten's depth have been cancelled at 10-10-10. How much liquidity support, read, loans, do we owe? Plenty. Let me just say, as my got plenty. What is the total debt of Sint Maarten at present? How much of this is due this year? This year is about 240 million is due, that's the liquidity loans. What are the conditions attached to these loans? You don't pay, in trouble. How can we ever have a balanced budget with such a huge debt? You cannot unless debt cancellation, debt postponement, debt refinancing takes place, and none of them have taken place yet, and that's why we have the blues called Budget 2023. And Fabian was asking this for his granddaughter, and this was February 15, 2023. And I really liked it because it said a mouthful. While we are talking from different angles in our mouth, the one angle we are not talking from is the one straight ahead, telling the people exactly what they're up against. And with Budget 2023, we have a problem since we cannot tell us where we are up, where we stand. You can't tell the police that you can pay them because you don't have money budgeted, and they start to cry about, oh, how you need money and how you need this. So what did you then sign, Madam Prime Minister? But we don't get to those just now. Because this is what this little debt trap spoke about. All right. I don't know if you all have realized and read the newspaper last week. It was last week, I believe. Yeah, last week. That our insurance premiums are going up at 15%, about, give and take. And this has to do with the serious weather patterns that the world, not Sint Maarten, the world, especially the United States of America and Europe, have been going through. We just had Turkey and Syria with a massive earthquake. These are billions and billions of dollars that insurances have to pay out. In America, all these crazy weather patterns with snow and severe storms. San Francisco having snow, the whole yard 1 feet of snow. Listen, these things, this is climate change. If you like it or don't like it, if you're a proponent or not, that's what it is, in my opinion. But the after effect of climate change, while we ain't seeing the sea rising too much yet, the insurance coming to grab you in your backside now. You know why? Anybody with a loan must have a mortgage insurance and must have a life insurance. Those are going up at 15%. You know what that means when your salary didn't go up at 15%? That you're going to have to sacrifice something else now to keep your life insurance and keep your house insurance if you want to continue owning that mortgage that the bank gave you. Because the bank ain't budget. The bank wants their equity that they gave you insured, be it through your life and your mortgage. So these are problems that we need to, as countries, start looking out for. Right now it's 15. Fuel continuously fluctuating. It ain't going down. I told you all a few months ago that according to the US, the fuel will climax at the all-time high come May. We are only in March. And you see a lot of people bawling that fuel should be going down. But fuel is not going down. Because the quantity of fuel on the market is not consistent anymore. So it's on demand now, and fuel will continue. I am sure GB's bills that used to be 1-2 million, maybe even 3 million per month, have now increased to 4, 5, 6, 7 million US dollars a month for fuel. So let us not make a mistake on what's happening right now in the world. And can we prepare for it? Yes, we can. Have we prepared for it? No, we haven't. So we got a rough ride coming and a good carnival. Now, we need to also look at what's happening when it comes to jockeying for position and topics. How people start to set themselves up on certain topics, how they're trying to find new candidates for their parties, because elections is coming. The question very often is when. Is it next month? Is it 2024? Is it November, as they are saying? Is it July? What is it? Nobody knows. Or nobody truly is going to say, we're going to do it then. You're hearing rumors about, oh, we're going to pull the plug in July. Listen. Bottom line is, it's scheduled for January 2024. I don't believe we're going to make that date. It's going to be before that. That's one of the reasons you see so much jockeying going on with candidates on lists, including the list I come from. Everybody's looking for candidates right now. The bigger parties, they have lost a lot of candidates, so they have to go back into the drawing boards and start to look how they can get their people riled up. But again, all I'm trying to say is that right now you have to be cautious when you hear people talk on certain topics. Do some research. It does you well because you read it for yourself, and when you read it for yourself, sometimes it can give you a different perspective than when you hear it from even me. Listen, sometimes it's good to read yourself. Okay, we are having a problem with the central bank because seemingly now 2 board members have not been vetted formally yet, and the national decrees for the board members for the Central Bank of Curacao and Sint Maarten must be the same. They should read the same. And the Minister of Finance in Curacao pulled up the handbrakes of the Minister of Finance in Sint Maarten, telling him, what are you doing? Why didn't you pass the national decree yet? Or was it signed off and we're still waiting on Sint Maarten? Sint Maarten said, oh, no, absolutely not true. You haven't, we waited on you all. And after a whole going and shoving with letters and all that, seemingly somebody in Sint Maarten dropped the ball. But again, let's hope we pick up the ball and move on. Fix it. Let's go. The people got to get onto the board. Now, IPCO seems to have ended good, as all countries want debt cancellation as a form of reparations for their slavery past. Now, again, I don't want to mince too much words, to be honest with you, when it comes to debt cancellation and slavery. The debt that we have created, we created it not because we were slaves. We created it sometimes because of bad management of our country. We created it because we had an issue with calamities. And I'm saying, let's look at the debt from that perspective. Look, debt that we incurred due to Hurricane Irma and Louis, the pandemic, COVID, those are debts that we incurred not because we wanted to or we did bad management of the country. Those are debts that I call humanitarian aid debts. And those debts, I agree, should be cancelled. They should be cancelled without having a discussion about slavery. Has nothing to do with slavery. That Irma ripped this country asunder has nothing to do that my forefathers were in chains. And we should not go there. Let's be clear on this. Yes, there are reparations to be paid. And how those are paid should be something for the future. But to just alleviate everything that we owe because we claim that we personally suffered from slavery, that's a farce. That's a complete farce. We suffer very often because of our own doings. We ourselves do this. Our governments have done the things to our people. It wasn't the slavery period. We made those mistakes. And we got to man up to those mistakes. And please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. Humanitarian aid for COVID, for Louis, for the pandemic, for the recession. Those debts, I can understand that those are wiped. And then we start to talk about reparations. We shouldn't combine the two at all. But again, I'm happy that at IPCO they spoke about it, because slavery will be it's a never-ending story. It's part of your culture, it's part of your history. You're going to continuously talk. Others will come and they're going to talk about it. But at least if we all learn the history, then there won't be a major debate about what happened and what didn't happen. How it happened and when it happened will be recorded and will be understood by all. So I think those are good things. I also am happy that the migrant flow in the various countries, and all countries cope with it. Aruba and Curacao, they cope with the Venezuelans. We cope with a lot of movement up here from people, and the Dutch had it naturally with the war victims that are moving over from the Ukraine and so. And these things put a very serious burden on the social impact of the country, of the residents of this country. And it was discussed at IPCO, how do you go? Because remember, at the end of the day, you're talking about human beings. These are not just shelf items like cans of goods. So no, these are human beings we're talking about. And while we have to have compassion with them, we also have to understand, though, that our people come first. And you can cut a little bit from your people to help them in their time of need, but their time of need must not become a permanent something like it is becoming Sint Maarten. These are the type of things that we have to discuss, and we have to be honest about them. And yes, some people get upset and, oh, you're against immigrants. I'm not against anybody. You made Sint Maarten your home the right way, and you pay your fair share, God bless you. But that's not the case. So let's not mince words about that. I think also what was great was that the relations in the kingdom also found a spot in the discussions that impacted the IPCO. But let's hope that the balance of power doesn't shift too radically come the next week and a half when they have elections in the Netherlands, and that the first chamber changes significantly, that you can't recognize it the way it was now in Curacao, because that can happen. That there's a great possibility that can happen, and if that happens, I think we have a different discussion in June, July with IPCO in the Netherlands. It's going to be totally different. But again, we have to understand that equality is not equality, especially when you look at it from the aspect of assets. The money the Dutch have, we don't have. So are we going to be equal? No, we are not going to be equal. But when it comes to human rights and the way we treat people, there should be no discussion about equality. And I think we very often mix those two things up. And I think it's good that we understand now what it means, equality in assets and equality in human rights. You got to separate them. A well-paid messenger. If we follow the writings of the political commentator of the Telegraaf newspaper in the Netherlands, Wouter de Winter, one will believe that we are paying for people to be in the Netherlands while doing absolutely nothing. The only time the Minister Plenipotentiary potentially does anything is the 1 hour a month when the Kingdom Council of Ministers has a meeting. Once a month he attends a meeting for about an hour. In this meeting, they basically handle the agenda, drink some coffee, and count the biscuits as they rush through the 15 minutes of fame. Many don't even speak Dutch, drive around in bigger cars than the members of the Dutch cabinet, and hardly work. Most of all, only when there's a Kingdom Council of meeting, they read the prepared text for them by their governments. Most of the time, after reading the text, they don't even answer questions. As for them, they feel they have done their job by reading the text. Now, what I'm trying to show you here, this is what they think. Because this is the media reporting it, and the Telegraaf is no small newspaper, one of the leading newspapers in the Netherlands. This is how they see the minister plenipotentiaries, and there were exceptions. WITU was an exception. Henry Brookson was an exception, in my opinion. This is my Matthias Fogus was an exception. This is my personal opinion. This ain't nobody else's opinion. So I feel because they mastered the Dutch language, they were able to rub shoulders on the corridors of power in The Hague. But if you don't master Dutch, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to really convince those 150 senators to look at your country from a different pair of lenses than their lenses, which represents the people that elected them. This is what's happening. And now, to make matters worse, the Prime Minister of Aruba pressed charges against the former Minister Plenipotentiary, who seems to have been maneuvering monies in the wrong way while sitting in the Aruba House. You understand? Now, these are the unfortunate things, because, in my opinion, while the Minister Plenipotentiary is an arm extension of the Prime Minister and speaks on behalf of the Prime Minister / Council of Ministers at the Kingdom Council of Ministers, you want to take, how would I say this? You want to be assured that the person sitting there ain't just drinking coffee and eating biscuits, but is truly representing the position of the country to the best of their ability. And they got to be quick on their feet there and then. I think too often we are missing that now. It is all prepare this and prepare that. But let me give the government of Sint Maarten some advice. Because we don't only have a minister plenipotentiary, we have a deputy minister plenipotentiary. And that costs us a lot of money. Salary up there, housing, car, everything. And the question is, for what? We can't make ends meet here. But we're going to put a deputy minister plenipotentiary up there when you have a director of the cabinet of the Sint Maarten House, whom is the most versed person with what's happening in Holland in politics and in the Sint Maarten. We got to be honest with ourselves. We truly have to be honest with how we spend money that we don't have. And I believe that to be the minister plenipotentiary in the Netherlands, you speak Dutch. And yes, English is an official language. Then ask to go to America and sit in the Sint Maarten House in America. But to go to Holland, you can't speak Dutch, but you want Dutch politicians that not necessarily master the English well enough to help you, you're in the wrong profession. We got to grow up in politics. We have to accept these things sometimes. And we too often don't look for people that can really do this job. No, let me give you an example. Again, this is me personally. And this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with maturity. I believe somebody like a Terence Ree would make a great candidate for Minister Plenipotentiary. He understands the politics. He speaks fluent Dutch. He understands the Dutch. So if you want something done, you can think about somebody like that. And don't only think because he writes negative about you that he is not a person for the job. Because politics, it's not about what you or what support you have. It's what you know, what you can do in the place you're going to. But again, like I said, we play too much of politics when we appoint people to positions and say, yeah, but it's politics. No, it's not. It's governing. You know what's politics? When you're running for election. That's politics. But after that, we start to govern. And we can't split the two yet. We think that every day it's politics. No, it's not. Governing is something different. That's what mature people do. Politics is what imbeciles do. continuously running, ranting, talking nonsense because it sounds good. But it doesn't do the country good, people. This is the difference. We are now governing, or we should be governing, but we are very often playing politics with it. Telem, tell me, what happened with you all? I was a little unpleasantly surprised. Because normally when I get surprised, it's pleasant, you know. But this one was unpleasant because the union and Telem management are once again at serious loggerheads when it comes to the following matters: the validity of the CLA, the payment of bonuses, profit sharing, and other benefits, the financial position of the company, the fiber to the home project, and the depletion of the budget. These are issues that must concern one and all in the government. You cannot now just accept no comment. Somebody got to say something. Somebody got to come out now and start to talk. Because this is crazy. There are court cases ongoing once again between Telem and the union. And there must be somewhere where the shareholder can say, listen, let's talk. Let's put all these, if there are personal differences, let's put them aside. Let's look what's best for the company, because that's what it's about. What's good for the employees, and then what's good for the rest. But the company represents the country. If Telem ain't doing good, that means communications is weak. That means Sint Maarten gets a black eye. Not Mr. Dupasoy, not Mr. Everts. No, Sint Maarten gets a black eye. And again, I keep saying these things. We gotta separate personal from country. We gotta do it. Not only politicians have to do it. All those sitting in government-owned companies where we have to deal with these matters, this has to be done the right way. Look, Telem, in my opinion, is the telecommunication company in the island. They have the monopoly, in my opinion. They have all the underground hardware. Yes, Flow is trying to put in fiber optic cables because that's the new thing, and they're trying to take a market away from Telem if possible. In the past, UTS/Flow was partially owned also by Sint Maarten. So you couldn't just cut and say, hey, you can't do this or you can't do that. Today, Sint Maarten don't have no ownership anymore in Flow. So Sint Maarten needs to protect its own. Its own is Telem. But you're not going to give them a monopoly outright, because you know what monopolies do? They create dinosaurs, they create dictatorships, they create bad service, they create expensive service. That's what monopolies really create. So I don't want to go there directly. But I do believe that we have to do a better protection in the services rendered and the cost for the services rendered. And if we use BTP correctly, this can be achieved. If we do it correctly. That's why the regulator was put there. It wasn't put there to give somebody a job. It was put there to regulate the industry, to regulate what goes on the ground and who owns it. That's what this was about. But because we were always busy with our own ship, we never looked at ship Sint Maarten. That's our problem. And we're going to have to adjust slowly but surely, and hopefully get onto the right track with these type of things. But again, remember now, Telem is facing some serious issues because they also lost the court case against Mer. They lost that court case in Amsterdam. It wasn't tried here. And I spoke about it a time back, and I realized nobody is worrying. But it was a $4 or $5 million loss that Telem had to fork out and pay Mer. Today, Telem is claiming not to have money to finish the fiber optic cable to the home. This is becoming ticklish. Now, you know, I have a problem, and I said it once, and I want to say it now today again, the way we deal with the fiber to the homes. And I spoke to Mr. Dupusoy personally on it once. I am disheartened when I see outsiders come in here, people from the French side companies set up through board members and all kind of things, companies to get work, and you have people like Fish, the mega boss, walking around outside there, scrambling to get a job, and you're telling him he's too expensive. When Telem is the one that sent them out to go and become certified splicers. Fish walking around with all the degrees he needs to do splicing in Sint Maarten, in America, or in Europe. He can splice. But here, we don't want to pay them the extra dollar. That's too much for them. It's too much for we own black people to give them more money. But you bring crews from Suriname that did the whole of St. John's wrong, and you have to rip out everything again. But they are paid. They are paid. You see, I got a problem with these type of things. And when I speak out, oh, you see, I just said Suriname, so I must be racist. No. Our people got to come first, for God's sakes. And we're going to deal about that in the airport just now. And then I'm going to explain to you why I said white girl. Then I'm going to explain it to you. Because some of you just think it's black and white. This is nothing but black and white. This is we against them. And we is those that made Sint Maarten their home. Not those that we fly in to make a fast buck, get your cut, and then fly them back out. But that's what has happened too often. And people are afraid to say it. Listen, I ain't looking for trouble now. But I ain't afraid of it neither. And the time has come that we're going to start standing up for our own. And who don't want to stand up, man, then you don't belong here. Honestly, you don't belong here. Maybe you should go to their country and try to get a job you got here in their country and see how that will work. Now, let me ask you a different question. The SOAB report that was made on Telem. Finally, Parliament got it. And I know they have been asking for this. I think it was MP Heiliger has been asking for this for months, if not nearly a year. And it was released. And when you read the report is very, how would I say, carefully written. But if you can read between the lines, you will read that mismanagement is a serious issue at the time of... Kendall, I am not accusing you of doing St. John's. I know you wasn't there. I know you wasn't. I ain't blaming you for that, my brother. All I'm saying, we have to learn to take care of our own. That's all. We can have a discussion later if you so desire, because you know I don't mind. All I'm saying, people like Fish should be given the job. And if they want 50 guilders instead of 40 guilders, I don't see the harm in that. Because we pay others a lot more for a lot less. But that's for a different discussion. But let me do this. When you look at what's happening in the report from SOAB, I think it warrants a meeting between the shareholders and management of not how you're doing and what we're drinking later. No. What's the problem? How are we going to fix this equity issue? How are we going to fix this financial issue? How are we going to finish the project in Telem? These are things where the shareholders are going to have to now step up to the plate and deal with. Because remember, and I agree with, and I'll give Mr. Dupusoy credit for that one, he isn't the one that started the Fiber to the Homes project. He was not there. and it went wrong. It went wrong bad, real bad. And he is now caught in the situation because he was the one that got the shitty end of the stick with Mayor. He didn't bring in Mayor. He got rid of Mayor in a fight, and something came in. And they have work with money done. When money done, project comes to a standstill. And that's the problem now. Because you don't have what you took a loan for. You took a loan to do A, B, C, D, and you have done A, B, C, and D, and if E had to be done, are not done. And those are problems. But you see, the fight that Telem is having now with the unions also on the validity of the CLA is unfortunate, because I read the National Ordinance on Collective Labor Agreements, and between Articles 18 and 21, you get a good indication on where you go. Listen, a CLA is normally signed for a maximum duration of 5 years, and you can then, for the next 5 years, every year, extend once again. So it means a CLA that has 10 years validity, has a maximum of 10 years validity. And after that, the situation must change. Why? Because most probably the working surroundings have changed. The economy have changed. Something might have changed. So they want to ensure that you can't just continue extending. No. You gotta go and sit at the table. Now, I understand there's a protocol, and they are busy with each other. But what I am reading is that at this point in time, they're not finding each other. And I don't want to get into that discussion, because I don't think that's a discussion for me to have. I am not a player, nor do I sit at the table in those negotiations. But I do believe in the interests of the country that the shareholders have to call both parties to the table and see if there is a way out. Because if there's no way out, you're going to end up just now in a labor dispute and a labor deadlock. And that you don't need. The union has to understand that at the end of the day, their fight is to get the best for their workers. And the company has to understand that agreements made in the past cannot just be broken because the CLA has come to an end. If somebody for 10 years long has been given a certain stipend, that can be considered part of their salary. They have learned to live with that money. You can't just 10 years later wipe it out, because it is not temporary. It wasn't temporary. And these are the difficult things when you're negotiating in CLAs. This is where things get murky. What right can you derive from a CLA that has now reached its lifespan versus a new CLA to come? Will those things that are in there right now, profit sharing, bonuses, will they be part of the new CLA? Or does the economy, for example, or the financial position of the company not lend itself to such? You see, all of these things play a role, and both sides need to understand that to get along in this way. But again, like I said, I don't want to delve into that too deep because I don't have all the information. Are early elections talks a reality or a ploy to see how the electoral field looks like? Now, during a meeting 2 weeks ago of Parliament on Tuesday, Member of Parliament MP Westcott Williams of the UD queried whether pressure can be applied to government to release information on talks that it plans to call early elections. That's wishful thinking, but I don't think that's going to happen. Even if they're talking it, they ain't going to tell you nothing. They are not going to allow you to prepare yourself. They very often would like to come, slam bam, and say, okay, we got elections now because they have everything in place, they got the money lined up, they got the paraphernalia ordered, and blah, 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 blah. Look, you have to be ready. We know the rules of engagement. The day they dissolve Parliament, 90 days later, there's election. You got your 3 months. If you're getting them come the 1st of April, or if you're getting them come the 1st of June, or if you're getting it come the 1st of November, or if you're getting it come 1st of whenever, you got 3 months. So I don't believe it's going to make a big difference, but I understand that there's a lot of pushing and shoving. Oh, what I think is more important is what all happening. What are the changes that are going to be made for elections? Are we going to have more voting booths? Have districts become bigger? Then they're going to split districts. Those are the type of things that will be interesting to know. There's this whole discussion on curtains right now. Should curtains be up? Should curtains be down? And you hear all kind of debates about it. I'm trying to prevent vote buying. What do you mean you're trying to prevent vote buying? You think the curtain is going to prevent vote buying? I mean, look, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Been around politics a long time. The amount of blocks, stoves, fridges I have seen people get, and the families going and vote. Court ain't gonna stop that. You talking about the boys that sell their vote, take a picture and come and show it. Then maybe y'all should go start checking the ballots and see how much of dummy ballots you just find in the election boxes. Because that too was a game that was being played. And you think that the curtains will stop that? Oh, please, man. These fellas, when they're ready. You see, the problem is this, when you move the curtain. They say, oh, at least they can see if you're taking a picture. But they can also see where you're voting. They can see if you're voting to the right, to the left, to the center, and they know exactly how the ballot looks like. So, if you want to talk about projections and making sure there's certain movements taking place during the voting period, the voting time, now the curtains allow that. Because I can say, okay, the right side, that's where this and this list be. They get to, hey, listen, you can find 100 reasons. Vote buying will only stop when the population decides they're not going to take money for a vote. No curtain will stop that. That's what we got to be honest about. Yes, you're trying to prevent it. You're trying to save those that don't want to be saved, according to those that want curtains gone. They want a fair chance to win elections. I agree with you. I agree, elections should be fair. But let's be honest. Let us not pretend that all parties, no exceptions to the rule, all parties do vote buying. Some of them just do it different. Some of them do this favor for this one and do that favor for that one. That's vote buying if you open for them to vote for you. So let's not pretend. Please, let us not pretend. The curtain is, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion I'm giving you, not relevant. You ain't going to stop the fellas that's selling the vote. They're going to find a different way. They're going to find a different way to do it. So, instead of us worrying about that, we should be worrying about ensuring that for elections, everything is in place to prevent all the things that are happening now. Look at my case. Look at the former MP Heiliger's case. We are suspended because of a constitutional matter that only exists in Sint Maarten. But go fix that, no? Go and fix that, because that was stupidity. No place else in the kingdom is an MP suspended. Pending the outcome of his appeals. Otherwise, why have appeals when you're going to take them out of their job? You see, this is unfortunate. But it's a reality. It's a reality I have to live with. The day I get acquitted is the day I get back my job in Parliament. So the faster my case comes, the better off I will be. And the better off this country will be. Because what we got in there now is a joke. It's a serious joke. But again, I ain't going to hurt my head too much with that today, because that ain't going to really change anything for us. But again, I think it's unfortunate that we're making a whole rugudu about the election aspects on it. Look, The Prime Minister is clear. January 2024. In any other discussion, it's just a discussion. The law says January 2024 unless there are snap elections. That's it. So asking when we go have it and who, that's all nonsense, man. Fix what gotta be fixed. I go fix the regulations and all those things, you know. See what we do about it. But again, I don't think we should be making a big fuss about curtains and all kind of crazy things when other people are still doing it all kind of ways. But again, I don't know what's gonna happen. I just waited. But I want to talk today about the DAFT visa. The DAFT visa, for all those that don't know, that is the Dutch-American Friendship Treaty visa. You know, you always hear about, oh, the Americans will come here, they don't need no work permit to work. I'm going to challenge that, and I'll tell you why. Because when you do read the Dutch-American Friendship Treaty visa, this was signed off on March 27, 1956 in The Hague. On the 15th of December, 1954, about a year and a half before, the Charter of the Netherlands, Antilles, and Suriname was signed. Netherlands, Antilles, and Suriname. The Charter. The Dutch-American Friendship Treaty wasn't signed for Sint Maarten. Alright? There was no Sint Maarten. There was the Netherlands Antilles. And that Dutch-American Friendship Treaty was signed with the Netherlands. Not the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the Netherlands. As the sovereign country within the kingdom. We need to start to put things in perspective, people. And the agreement was, or let me put it this way, an American entrepreneur could have jumped on the boat, on a plane, and go to the Netherlands and start his own business by investing, in today's terms, 4,500 euros. That's what he had to do. And he would need no work permit. And his residency permit would have been arranged within a short period of time. But that was to establish a business. So the Americans had to come and establish a business. So, how did they do it down here? They'd come and ask for a director's license for a business. And then, you know, get around the whole work permit and get their residency. Because the director's license is totally different. I don't think you need a work permit for a director's license, but you need a residency permit. And you got to be making, when you ask for a residency permit, you got to show them you're making 3,000 or 4,000, something like that, per month. Now, the whole catch with this DAFT was that the, how do you say, the visa was not for down here. Now, I don't know what happened in 10-10-10. I don't know if the Netherlands Antilles co-signed after the Americans, after the Dutch signed, if they also signed on to that friendship treaty as Netherlands Antilles. And then I don't know what happened with 10-10-10, because I know we just signed every damn thing to get 10-10-10. Anything they put in front of us, we signed. We didn't even read. They had no time to read. They were signing. And today we're trying to fix. So it is very interesting to see what was signed when it comes to Dutch-American Friendship Treaty, what the visa requirements are, because if it's a business, any American come down here cannot go to work if they don't have a business personally. So these are the type of things now that I hope the Labor Department can give some clarity on. And if I am wrong, they maybe, or you can explain it to me differently, because all the information I am giving you here now, I took off the internet when we did a little research on the DAFT visa. So again, this thing about American bartenders and waitresses coming down here and they can get a job, that is utter nonsense. That is not true. American entrepreneurs, as the law stated, is a different story. But that means you own a business. And we need to understand how this works, because you got to pay for that business license every year. You got to be paying taxes, etc., etc., etc. It can't be that you go down in these bars down in Simpson Bay and you finding Americans all over the place and they don't have to have a work permit. They need a work permit. They, honest to God, need a work permit. So I want to really see where this is, but according to me, something is dead wrong on the interpretation of the DAFT visa. Our Prime Minister launched a plastic-free project for Sint Maarten. Now, when I read this, I looked up, I started to laugh, and then I started to scratch my head and say, what's behind this? That is election time? That's crystal clear. The whole plastic ban, the single plastic use ban law that was done by MP Westcott and had to be signed off, put in the Gazette, and be enforced. I don't know really what happened there, because all over Sint Maarten you still get single-use plastic bags. You go to the Chinese, you go to grocery stores, you get, with the exception of some of the big stores like Carrefour, Sunny Food, and some of them. No, Sunny Food you could still get plastic bags too. Carrefour, the one over here, a few of the big ones. I can't pick up their names now. But there's a lot of single-use plastic bags still available. And the enforcement on that. So when I read this one, I said, well, where are we going now? Because, mind you, please, I wholeheartedly support the program. 247,872 euros was given for the Resembid program. They have reached the implementation phase now, and we talk about styrofoam, and we talk about plastic, single-use plastic. And my thing is, okay, so we talk about straws, bags, plates, whatever it is, cups, whatever it is. Because in this program, what I'm reading is they're going to create the framework and the laws and so, and they're going to make the people aware of it all, and that's great, That's great, because it needs to be done. But there's another foot that is missing. That is the support foot. Anybody that's in the business, in the food and beverage business, knows that plastic is much cheaper than cardboard or paper. It is cheaper. It is sturdier. So you want to get a sturdy paper plate, it's going to be much more expensive than the plastic plate. But it's biodegradable, it's recyclable. So if you want those things, that too will cost more money. So the product becomes more expensive for the entrepreneur to sell his product to the buyer. That step over has caused a lot of problems through some of the islands in the Caribbean already, where government stepped in to help with the purchasing of a lot of that type of material. The paper straws, the wooden forks, knives, and spoons, the wooden plates, the paper plates, the paper cups. They are more expensive because even the paper cups cannot be lined inside anymore because that is not biodegradable. So there are a lot of things that come to play. It's a very expensive step over, a very much needed step over, but an expensive one. And I didn't see that, and I couldn't find that in the article. And you know, that's what I found a pity. While I agree with it and I think it's a great thing that's going to happen, I found it a pity that that footing is missing. Where will government give support where support is needed? Yes, we want to change certain things, but you can't change habits overnight. So if you talk about a 5-year transition, I understand you. But again, none of those things are in the article. The article just dangling out there, Prime Minister starts this, Prime Minister going to do this. You need more, you need a little more substance. It's election, I know that, but we need more. Now, the good part of this was that the Sint Maarten Development Foundation is going to be the one handling this project. So it's out of the reach of government. So I like how that piece was going. So at least you can get good structure that direction. Now, again, the aspect of the plastic. I was at the beach cleanup, and what caught my eye was that, of my attention, I should say, is when Nature Foundation explained the damages that plastic can do to our ecology, because also fishes eat plastic, and then you eat a fish, so you're eating plastic. Now, correlation went a little farther, but it was interesting. It was interesting to hear it that way also, because for the little children, they're the ones that were grasping this. You know, hold on there. Boy, Shoes, you're hitting shots today, man. Shots, man. I agree with you. You're talking the truth there. That is 2016-17. You're hitting the nail on the head there with our then PM, when we had asked as Vromi to go into the schools to do awareness on garbage, and Mr. Richardson Eustachio, he was the contract manager. Specifically, he was handling landfill and garbage collection those days for the ministry. And he worked in my department. And we wanted, together with the Nature Foundation, to go to the schools, and it was like, that door wasn't really open that time for us. But nevertheless, you know, we are 6 years further, and 2015, my apologies, I thought it was 16, 2015 already. And I really hope that we drop the politics by the door and take the country two hands and push it above us and move forward. Sint Maarten needs to grow, and needs to grow fast. Now it really needs to move. We are missing too many opportunities. I hope from the Nature Foundation, the Epic Foundation, Pride Foundation, all of them, that they are part and parcel of this program, not only by cleanups and so, but by thought process, by the law. These foundations, they have good people on board. Make use of them, make use of their capacity, and let's see what we can do with it. You know, I really think that a lot can happen. I hope that the TAFT ministry is on top of this program as much as they can, because the economy is going to be affected by this program, if we like it or not. It is going to have a lot of effect on businesses and so. So it is good that we have this done. The behavioral changes that are coming, the people, they have to be aware of where we're going and how we're going. And again, like I said, this project will have some far-reaching consequences for this island, but they are needed. They are really needed, and this country can use it. We really, really need to start making a big difference. Sint Maarten deserves better. So, while the funds have been allotted to start on this project, so now we're going into the implementation phase, we need to make sure that we have enough money that when the laws have been made and put into play, that we can also do the enforcement and the follow-ups, etc. Because too often, and I am now speaking out of experience, we build all kind of beautiful infrastructure, and they don't put a guilder on the budget to maintain it. And then we wonder why we find ourselves in these type of situations. So let's see where we go with it. I wish them the best. The airport saga. Now, let me do this. I am going to read today the WhatsApp that seemingly have caused a lot of this problem. I'm going to read it. Not going to use all the words that were in there because they were, in my opinion, sometimes derogatory words, and I try to keep those out. But I will mention the names as they were mentioned in the story, so context is not lost. But finally, after all the whining and dining and playing games, the CEO of the airport, Mr. Brian Mingo, suspended Mrs. Audrey Jack, St. Luke, blaming her for a WhatsApp I'm going to read just now that has been going around on social media, and for sending the WhatsApp or a WhatsApp with some strong language in it, seemingly, to the up leader, MP Bryson, who sent that on to the CEO, Brian Mingo. Lots of role playing is happening right now, but at 2 o'clock this afternoon, there's a meeting between the union, the lawyer, Mrs. Jack, and the airport management. And after that, we will see what happens. At this point in time, the union has asked that Mrs. Jack is put back into function and an apology is extended by Mr. Mingo. Mr. Mingo seems to be standing right now and holding his position he in doing that. So we will see. We will see. Let me give you what the WhatsApp played with. Mr. Duran York, your last campaign slogan was, "We are qualified." And Mr. Omar Otley, "Only we can save we." Those were the campaign slogans of the last election of the present government / coalition members. I guess this doesn't apply to we Sint Maarteners right now. Well, the news going around is that this jackass down here, Mr. Brian Mingo, bringing someone from Telem to replace Audrey Jack. But seeing it all over social media now, the good lady will be going to the finance department. I've never seen so many jobs being created here at this airport, and top-ranking paid positions, and still they crying they don't have monies to pay their employees. What is this government doing about this instead of them filling their own pockets and cutting salaries from everybody and not themselves? Only begs to ask how you can sleep at night. Don't hold me for the language, I'm just trying to read it as it goes. Mr. Omar Otley, as for you, your father Bobby Otley did work at the airport after Irma. Why was he not investigated like the rest? Something not sounding right at all. This is a setup. And next, what is so disturbing here at Juliana, if it were local contractors here, an investigation will be carried out long time. But seeing it's Schiphol and nobody not hearing anything about all these millions going left, right, and center. Brian Mingo, remember you was sent here by a group of politicians. All right, now, to give you clarity on that, it was the up in the NA made a trade, Brian to the airport, Kendall to Telem. That's the trade that they are referring to here. You don't have a clue of what's going on at the airport, so you just like a jackass without a tail. You really got the place upside down. I want you to remember this word jackass because you keep hearing it, and that's one of the problems. You brought this Miguela Gums, yes, she's a daughter of the soil, but she's making a chaos here at the company, and when she got that director position, it was not advertised as you say. That's a lie. It was given to her because she's doing your dirty laundry. Right now, you all want to get rid of this new lady, Miss Hearlings, that you just brought in human resources because she is not going along with all your dirtiness. Mr. Mingo, your contract soon up. What do you want is a next contract for you, and you don't have a clue what's taking place and how an airport operates. You better take your backside and leave. But if they grant you another term, well, everybody knows what's really going on in this place. Mr. Mingo, you paying out all the social media to keep their mouth shut. First, Mr. G Money, you talking a heap of bullshit. Whether the hurricane or government, this airport should have been further after all those million in consultant fees, etc., were given out. Mr. G Money, you also see your episode 4 where you on the roof, that this roof has nothing to do with the monies the airport got from the NRP, etc. As that roof was fixed when Mr. Hyman was there in 2018. That's why we came back into the building. So get your facts straight. But then again, it's your job, so you have to go about what they told you. Tell Mingo go and look for his partners, Mr. Ravi and Dykhoff, who messed up the monies. And when they heard the Dutch coming in 2019, they both jumped ship. Secondly, you already paid up Ms. Bibi Shaw, and you're working now on Andrew Dick so that he can stop saying that you are the worst CEO ever in history, while we can see he advertising the airport recently. Mr. Gromiko Wilson got paid from day one. He never uttered anything about the airport issues, but tackling Minister of Justice. What you think you're going to get all the votes? What Doran York got for fooling them and went to Vromi where the monies are? Oh, please. But I know for a fact that you can't pay off Oral Gibbs. You ran on his show after he blasts your ass with Skip Hull, and when Mr. George Pantoflet said that you are the problem and you need to be removed. He also mentioned that when you were asked to come to Parliament, you didn't show up. But little do they know that you was the bad man when you made the comment that if you're not going because you might box down somebody in Parliament. You have a lot of mouth, but your time is winding down. You and Neerto keep going prosecutor office. When will you stop? Nothing going. You always, so you are still trying harder and harder. Neerto, you better behave yourself, because if that one person make up their mind to start to circle WhatsApp messages and voice notes they have on you, it will be problems in your ass. And Mr. Brian, the RST is right around the corner for your backside. We will like to know why the Crime Minister Silveira not handling the mismanagement and alluded to in the SLB report regarding Telem. You noticed the airport board jumping ship like crazy. To our knowledge, they were the big bad wolves that got rid of Mr. Hyman and Mr. Guichard. School children saying William Allen put in his son to be the leader of the National Alliance, but he is a waste. Why? If that man is getting paid by government every month for working in Parliament and is a no-show, every day he is present at Creative Juices, his own company, what can he do for us? And he already showing us what he's about. Sint Maarten really is not a real place. We gone. Now, this was the article that was all over the place and created a load of problems. And, you know, my thing is this. What all is true or what all is not true is now nearly besides the point. And again, my issue is what really happening at the airport. There's a lot of crazy things going on at the airport. I was in Parliament myself. I questioned the management of the minister, and the minister had to ask the management to answer, and it was always they couldn't give this or they couldn't give that, they couldn't give that. But I'm going to tell you something. There are a few things you have to pick out of the article to get an understanding of what's really happening at the airport. At the airport, it seems that a political party needs Mr. Mingo at the airport to do certain things for them. They just put out the VIP lounge on bid. But that VIP lounge has to go to a very specific group of investors. They want it. And they're willing to pay big bucks for it. And there are other concessions that need to go to party board members. And if Mingo wants an extension for a year, which he has asked for, so he could finish the airport project, then he will have to comply with these things. That's it in a nutshell, how they are looking at it. The political party needs party funds. For them to get those party funds, they're going to need to give up the VIP lounge and a concession or two. That's what it is. No more, no less. Do I have proof? No, I don't. Will I follow it? Yes, I will. And all those that know me well enough know I know exactly where to dig and how to dig. It ain't difficult. They always say the grass is greener on the other side. Be careful. Be very, very careful. But I'll tell you something. Come October 2023, Mr. Mingo, your contract finished. And you're going to be gone. I pray to God you don't go through what some others went through, which are massive investigations, and they come kicking down your door and doing all kind of craziness. But you have created that scenario for yourself. You have created enemies that you have no control over anymore. Your greed, your ego has taken the better of you, and that's unfortunate. I really had hoped that they would have never reached to this. But again, what you would do for power will become detrimental for this country. And all those that need party funding, I think you better look for it a different place. Because I can guarantee you, the way you plan it, it ain't going down. I will make that my mission to block. Tell you that from now. The police troubles and the government failures. The Minister of Finance, the Minister of Justice, oh God, let me not put the wrong people in problems. The Minister of Justice had promised to pay before January 1st, 2023, they were going to pay the police the monies they owe them. That was a promise that made in some meetings, I can recall. I spoke about it before, I can go back, check the dates. But again, the police are tired. They're tired of waiting. And I think the police union had a meeting with their lawyer, Mr. Cormetz, who seemingly has taken on the battle. And they issued a stern warning. Enough is enough. And they want their monies by March 15th, which is next week, Wednesday. And if they don't have it, then a possible slowdown is in the make. Now, 13 years they are waiting for their documents. And mind you, this is not blaming the present minister for the documents, because there were many ministers before her. In 2010, it became clear that on the 10th of October 2010, the KPSM structure took effect. Nobody realized it, and they came over with the KPNA, Korpspolitie Nederlands Antillen, and they worked with that. And that's when changes were made, and that's why this whole immigration issue, where the minister rightfully separated them because of how things were set up and what the law says, etc., etc. All of those things are understandable. Then came the function books, the salary scales, etc. People were not being paid, and it was the governor didn't want to sign because he said he signed in a half a package, he signed the whole package. Then you all could remember the national decree establishing the function books back on December 20th, 2021. That's a year and what, 3-4 months now? 3 months. Let's say a year and 3 months. And that was a huge event. You all could remember that's a big, 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 big event. But up until today, nobody has a decree telling them this is your job, this is your pay, this is this. And I just read an article where the minister says, please bring in whatever paper you have so that we can update our personal records. I mean, look, when I read that, I just shook my head. I mean, are we serious? So how have you regulated everything if you have nothing? How are you scaling people? How are you making budgets? Are you just taking the salary they have and saying that must be good? You see, this is where things go wrong. We have been busy now for what, 2 years, 2.5 years with this function book and everything, and now you can come and tell people, listen, but we don't have nothing on you on file. You know, we don't know which scale you in a way. That can't be. Honestly, that can't be. And to ask people to bring that now, I think that's a little far-fetched. But again, the problem is this. Nobody taking blame for what went wrong. Because if it ain't the lawyer, then it's the union, then it's the governor, then it's the minister, then it's the change manager. So everybody was involved. Yet, we are having a problem with the reality of the problem. The reality is not the governor, the minister, Mr. Darrell. No, they're not the problem. The union is not the problem. The police officers, the justice workers, they are the problem. They are the ones being screwed. They are the ones being excluded from the solution. Because the solution is give them their job description, give them their function description, give them their salary scale, give them their rankings, whatever you owe them, give it to them. This is the problem we are having. And everybody keeps dancing around it. Now remember, Mr. Dahl came in here as the wonder kid. He was going to solve everything. He was going to fix everything because he didn't do it in Curacao. He had a boot in Curacao. He went in as a change manager, yes. But he couldn't solve it. He couldn't handle the 1,200 strong man force of Curacao. It was a problem. He was the right hand of a politician, the former Minister of Justice in Curacao, Susie Camilla Romer. He was her right hand. And they formed the political party and all that, and then eventually that went there. And then suddenly he reached up here as the wonder child. And the results are clear. Chaos. And now, when these boys and girls in blue had to be paid, no, it come out. But we can't pay you. There's no money budgeted for 2023 to pay you. And we need money to be able to put it on the budget to pay you. Now, I have a few simple questions. How much money are we talking about for 2023? And the second question is, go find it in the budget. Go cut other shit. Cut other things. But you cannot put the safety of this country on the line. You see, we keep playing these games. We keep playing these games until things go wrong. You see the airport here? This afternoon, that meeting don't finish right. There are going to be problems. There's going to be a serious after effect. I hope nobody don't ball. You can run, go to any judge you want. Tell the judge, get your colleagues out of the courthouse and go down there and do it yourself. Because people are tired. People are sick and tired of being taken advantage of. And what's happening here is advantage. The airport is a disaster, and the shareholder is sitting on its backside allowing it to happen. The police is going over and beyond the call of duty, and you're laughing at them. Now you're telling them, oh, we got the money in the budget. People are quitting. People are quitting up until today. More officers have left the Sint Maarten police force. And we seem to not worry about this too much. I hope to God and pray to God that we don't have incidents and there are no police. And there are no police. And then it's every man for his own. Every woman for his own. and God for all of us. Because that's going to be the problem. That's going to be the problem we are going to face just now. I don't know, you know, sometimes I truly don't understand. I mean, Mr. Merckx went deep into the whole committee and the whole placement and the legality of the placement, the ethical aspect of the placement, you know, and the legal justification of it. I leave that for the account of the lawyer. I know a little bit about it, but I believe the lawyer is on track with where he's going with it. So I don't want to make too much of a ruction in there, but I believe and I firmly advise the government, solve this issue. It cannot solve itself. And you don't want to be on the receiving end of the aftermath. Yes, police officers took an oath, and so did you. And so did you. Country above self. So stop the nonsense and take care of the people of this country that you and I and everybody else depend on to protect us from all that is evil. But what about if you are evil? Because you are not protecting them. The WITU, that is former Minister Johnson, sends the government a proposed salary scale adjustment. Now, this is another one of these stories where there is a fight brewing or ongoing between the government and the teachers. And the non-functioning of the education ministry has led to where we are today. I'm happy to have heard that they have asked the Minister of Education to step aside. That's what I understood. They've asked him to make his position available. I don't know if he's going to go to Parliament and somebody else from the party will take the seat, or like the school children are saying, that seat is now going to the up party to keep the coalition intact, and they will sacrifice the minister and let him go his jolly old way. I think the minister is a good senator. I don't think he was the right minister for the position. It's very unfortunate, but he's a capable man. So I hope we don't lose the man just like that out of the arena. I think he can do good for this country within the specific guidelines where he is best to work. But again, the teachers, you know, listen. When I went through this whole teachers thing, a lot of things hit me because my mother was a teacher for 47 years. She was in the educational field for 47 years. And the WITU feels that teachers should be recognized for their hard work and be promoted for the years of service, considering the several points listed by the union. This is part of the proposal they sent to the government. That the teachers' function house has very little to no room for mobility due to the limited functions. The majority of the teachers enter the education labor market around the average age of 22 to 23. The current salary scale has not been revised for more than a decade and should now be adjusted. Also, that the present salary scale was made that at 60 you would retire and go on pension. And so after 30 years in the system, you had a full pension, or you could go on early retirement. But that, as of 2020, that has changed, and now the old age pension has gone up all the way to 65. It went to 62 first, and now last year I think it went up to 65. So for the teachers, while they didn't change nothing for the past 10 years, they added on 5 years of waiting time and working time, because the pension now became not 30 years. A full pension isn't 30 years anymore, it's 35 years now, unless you fall in the old system. So I don't know how that is put together for the teachers, so I really don't want to make a statement because I'm not 100% sure. But at least like after 30 years, you had a full pension. That's not afforded to the teachers now anymore as according to the union. And teachers normally are there for 35 to 45 years in the education system. So again, they said in the past teachers could move horizontally. I don't know exactly what that means, but that isn't being applied either. I want to believe maybe they could have moved into different functions within the organization. But the proposal asks that in the present salary scales, an additional 10 scales are added up so you can continuously grow. You have 20 more years, or 10 more years at least, that you can grow. So I think the proposal has merit. I don't know what the financial consequences are of the proposal, because that needs to be very clear also for the country. You need to understand what you're tying yourself into. What is this going to cost? So again, in that aspect also, it is good. And for teachers that have reached a maximum, if they can't climb anymore, they got 10 more years to teach. Why teach with enthusiasm? Because if you get a bad, what do you call it now, evaluation, you still ain't going no place. You get no extra money. You get a good one, you get no extra money. You get a bad one, you get extra money. So why make a bigger effort? It can be sometimes demotivating. So I think in that piece, it should be looked at. Now, the fight continues to ensure education is truly prioritized in our country, as teachers should be respected and not be neglected. Now, that's a big statement. Education should be one of the building blocks in this country, and teachers are the builders. They bring the blocks to the party. So this is something that we have to look at. And then the WITU went a step further, and they said educators form the foundation of civilization. They serve as mentors of young people, provide direction and commitment, and empower them via education. Teachers enable nations to further their social and economic development. While they are frequently praised as heroes deserving of acclaim, teachers are not adequately recognized in Sint Maarten. I support that statement. I have seen it firsthand. And, I don't know. I've seen my mother work so hard in education. And this is not because I believe she must be praised, but they must recognize them sometimes. Recognize them for what they have done for this country. Vocational education was nurtured from an infancy by my mother and a few other hard-working teachers. And they made vocational education what it is today in Sint Maarten. They laid that platform. But when you listen to people, they don't even know who they are, because it's a forgotten few. So thank God I'm busy, hopefully getting a book written about that part of the history, so it's not really forgotten anymore. Unfortunate, but a reality. The union also asked the minister, please don't forget the laptops you promised all the teachers so that they can function more efficiently. But there are so many concerns with education at this point in time. So I understand the call for his replacement. I truly understand it. I find it a pity, but I truly understand it. His cabinet has been changing members for crazy, which means there is no understanding among each other on what is needed or what is expected in the education department. Now, I like this next topic, Jumbie at the Kadaster. Now, let me, just for clarity's sake, okay? This has nothing to do with the recent problem they had between the director, the board, and the minister. This has to do with how things go at Kadaster. A lot of old documents of great historic value are being lost because they're becoming unreadable, unlegible, and thus useless. And the story in these documents, they're not only about domain land information, but also with valuable family histories and the ownerships of how ownerships came to be our properties and the disputes that we have today, why we have them. You see, we too often blame a person. Oh yeah, because he and he do this. No. But the Kadaster, it goes further because it's not a 5-year event or a 10-year event or a 15-year event or a 20-year event. It's further. You see, the thing is, we very often put the wrong people in position. When you put the wrong people in position, you're going to now get the famous stories of Jumbie the Kadaster that was written by Terence Ray. And, I must say, Terence gave this story life, truly gave it life. And, the thing of the finance minister planning for the plans for the Kadaster, and that basically he wants to put the Kadaster on bid so that whoever wins it will have to turn over the additional funds after expenses to government is nearly unheard of. Why? Because the Kadaster is carrying out a function on behalf of the government. So it must be controlled. When you start to put it on bid, what are you putting on bid exactly? I need to understand what you're going to put on bid. Because the rules and regulations are clear. We know what it is and what it is not. And based on what is domain land, what's private land, and registration of mortgages. Look, I think Kadaster is an integral part of your government. Just like civil aviation, for example, and the health directorate. These are all independent entities, yet interrelated to government directly on a daily basis. So there is no concession to give away, because you're not guaranteeing anything. What you're doing is you want to have a management agreement with Kadaster. And that management agreement, you can have it with the entity called Kadaster. Be it, just like how you have one with GB for water management, you can have one for cadastral services. Again, I think we keep making mistakes, I don't know how else to put this. But if you're going to put a Kadaster on bid, you might just as well put the government on bid. I mean, look, we have sold a lot of seats in Parliament. And I can remember, I think it was Fish the Mega Boss. Like today he's popular on my show. He had a show, curtains. Removal of curtains, remove the curtain, or remove curtains, something like that was. He even got sued for it by the company. But what I'm trying to say is, putting Kadaster out on bid is not your solution. In Curacao, the government wanted a bunch of money out of Kadaster and they lost the case in courts. You cannot, as government, try to govern taking money out of the government-owned companies to supplement your mismanagement or your inability to govern. Shouldn't do that. And that's the impression I get sometimes when I read these things and look at it. But I need you all to pay attention to the following as I close down today. When you listen to what's happening in our country, and in some cases in the world, you will understand that our government has become a serious liability for us. The police force is in shambles because of a minister not dealing straight, and money is not being paid, and lies being told about this. There's no other way to to put it nicely. The budget isn't there. Let me ask a different question. Do we have a budget? Where is the budget? Because I was gone for 10 days and I haven't heard anything yet. Teachers are totally fed up with the present minister, and according to the political pundits, a motion of no confidence will be hitting the floor of Parliament sooner than later, sending the education minister packing, unless he accepts the offer to resign now. I understood there's also an investigation underway about a minister with bid rigging. Again. Now, we need to decide what's going to be tolerated and for how long. We have had problems in the past. The Ombudsman wrote a letter. Now, again, there seems to be bid issues with the same minister, but who qualified and who qualified, etc., etc., etc. And there are a lot of rumors going around, and I don't want to get into the rumors yet because rumors can be a difficult something, but let's see. Let's see what's going to happen now, because it's only getting worse, it's not getting better. When you see the meeting or the press conference they had last week, I think it was last week, I see no other solution than new elections being called in the very, very near future. Things are not going the way they should be going. The bleeding at the hospital can't stop. The airport is out of whack. The rising fuel costs locally while internationally it's dropping. The SOB report on Telem, the Kadaster Jumbies, the unbalanced budget, the outstanding loans, the unclear consensus mutual agreements to be signed off, which can tie us to eternity and make us slaves of the Netherlands for the next 100 years, financial slaves, let me put that a little nicer, and all the disgruntled civil servants and government company employees. It is piling up in such a speed now that they don't know what to do anymore. Businesses are asking for better management of the tourism pillar by investing properly in the tourism pillar. So not the 3 million or the 4 million, but maybe the 10 or 15 million that's needed, and involve them, let them be part of the structure. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and the businesses are feeling a little out of place now. And then, you know, you go wrong, and then you set up a new minimum wage and you implement it, while the business community, the stakeholders feel that, hey, why didn't you involve us? We would have shown you how to maybe get a little more out of this minimum wage by maybe making some adjustments across the board with how to do business in Sint Maarten. Again, you see, these are things that you don't want to blame a minister right away because you don't know how everything was put in place. But again, the consensus mutual agreement is to be signed off in the very near future, or was maybe signed off already in secrecy, only God knows. But again, we have no clue, absolutely no clue what's happening. None. You don't know what's in it. You don't know what's to come. Van Huffelen has been given her fair share licks already in Holland, that she is not going to make concessions unless the Kingdom Council of Ministers give the green light, and they postponed the last meeting. They postponed it because they wanted to ensure that her boss lady, Ms. Kach, was in the meetings, so that nobody can come dancing after, yeah, but I didn't say that. No. You there, you the finance minister. Let's see where we're going with these debts. Let's see where we're going with these loans. Let's see because what she is now negotiating is the terms and the rental percentage. So the percentage points that they're going to be adding on to the loans that were at present 0% loans. they're not going to be 0% anymore. So that's the discussions that are now ongoing. That's where we are standing. So again, you know, this is where it is. You know, that the Parliament has no clue what's happening, and they made that very clear during IPCO. So again, it's to show you that the mutual agreements are agreements between governments, and the parliaments are excluded, even though the mutual agreement has a binding effect on legal matters that were already approved, the country packages. So you see, there are different ways of skinning a cat, and the Dutch found most probably the right way to go with it and exclude the parliaments that were making it difficult to get done. Now, I know many people believed that my Facebook post where I referred to the white girl was maybe somewhat far-reaching and maybe even racial, and that if I look in the mirror, I would see the same as when you would look at the girl in question. I humbly disagree with you all. You see, I worked my butt off to climb the ladder. I didn't fly in here and get handpicked by people to put in positions to do things. I was never a politically liked civil servant. I was respected, but not necessarily liked, because I wasn't one of those that would just sign off a document for the sake of signing it off, because you said so as minister or as commissioner. That's who I was, that's who I am. That's not what she is. Let's not confuse it. And yeah, maybe the term white might have been a little unfortunately put. So maybe I should call it insiders versus the outsiders. Because I cannot and will not allow any one of our own people to believe that they have the right or power to destroy one of our own and bring in an outsider. It ain't gonna happen. This afternoon, 2 o'clock, somebody will fall in line or somebody will feel the line. I want you to have a wonderful week. Enjoy your week. And remember this, life is too short not to enjoy it. Please share my podcast. Bunks out.